The fencing master watched impassively, his limited praise reserved only for the prince, who kept advancing as though time was slowing to a point that expanded and filled the room like an invisible balloon, forcing air from my lungs. Choking on breath, I caught a glimpse of eyeshine through the convex mesh of Hamlet's mask. The grace of an athlete became the grace of a predatory creature, the friend I knew disappearing behind a veneer of mad particulars, the shudder of a foot as it stepped, the rise of his chest too quick, the set of his shoulders up. His foil flashed. I parried, prepared to thrust, felt a jab to the ribs. "A hit!" declared the fencing master. The gathered air dispelled in a sigh. I gripped the hilt of the foil, flexing my fingers hard against its surface. The glove fabric folded against the skin of my palm. I growled once, too late, in frustration. Hamlet carelessly drew off his helmet, his dark hair messy, contrasting sharply against the whitewashed walls, the polished beige floor. He looked at me, and his broad, resplendent smile held the venomous tilt of conquest. "One more. Call for one more." But he made it clear that practice was over. I gritted my teeth, refusing to take off my own helmet. He would not get to see his triumph mirrored in my humiliation. He'd seen enough of that these past few weeks already. Hamlet slashed his foil once in front of his body, before turning to the fencing master to signal the end of practice. The fencing master bowed his head, something he never did to me, and withdrew to retrieve cups of water. Hamlet took his without a word and gulped it down. His wet skin shone red with exertion and relief at the victory. I kept my helmet on, though I took the drink offered to me. Together we retired to the next room to change and hang up equipment. Hamlet leaned over the phonograph that sat atop a low table. The scratch of static sparked out of the slowly rotating record, and the first plinking notes of Jeu de Haut fell like droplets over us, quiet and gentle. When I turned around, Hamlet had stripped to the waist and was toweling off his chest and face. I drank my water. We were both breathless from our bouts. Accusations surged within me. My reputation unnecessarily sullied by someone who was the height of hypocrisy. Guilt of fearing that he was right. Fear of losing contact with one of the only people who knew me as a child. Anger on Elsa's behalf, since she suffered greater consequences than I for her choice. And a small voice that sounded a little like my mother, saying I deserved whatever slander he hurled. The clashing words cancelled each other out. No, I would choose to be the kind of man who demanded that another speak first when he had wronged me, even if that man was the prince. Except for Ravel and the stormy conversation in my head, silence stretched. I nearly shook with the self-imposed inability to speak, took another drink, eyed Hamlet. Normally, I could barely get out my thoughts when he was around. Even when we were children, playing blind man's bluff, he wouldn't stop talking. A knock interrupted our chants. "Who's there?" Hamlet asked. "A liegeman to the Dane," came a fruity, laughing, familiar voice. "Polonius, my lord." My jaw squared. Hamlet and I locked eyes. His seemed to blame me for my father's indiscretion. Instantly, my annoyance reverted back to Hamlet. My father, despite his bluster, had faithfully served the Danish crown and guided it through conflicts for years. I was allowed to feel mixed emotions toward him, but Hamlet needed to respect him for his age and service. Soon enough, Hamlet himself would mount the throne. His brilliance and popularity would serve the country well, but I knew better than most how maddeningly unpredictable he could be. Would he go so far as to dismiss my father? Without Hamlet's goodwill, my family would have no recourse. So I reined in every impulse I had and held my tongue.